Reading your lies. Now, this isn't just applicable to around the greens, but it certainly comes in a lot when it comes to playing short game shots. Now, it's all well and good being able to play a great stock chip shot off a nice tight fairway lie. It's great being able to change the ball flight higher, lower, get it back to your stock as well. But we need to be able to understand how the different lies around the green, and in this scenario, not the slopes, but more so how the ball is sitting. How is that going to influence the shots that I'm about to play? So in this series of videos, we're going to be going through the different kinds of lies that you're probably going to face around the greens and how to handle them. So the first lie we're going to be looking at is the ball being sat down in the rough. This is probably the most common lie you're going to face here in the UK. And the tricky part of this is that it's very unpredictable, especially here in the UK where we tend to have different grass types around the green mixed in with each other. You can see it's not always uniform growth, just how it is in terms of how the grass grows here. So how fast is the club going to get through? How thick is the rough? There are so many variables in this which can make it so hard to predict how this ball is going to come out. So this is why you'll hear pros ask for their ball to get in the bunker, because they know how they're going to get the ball coming out of the sand, whereas in this, it can be a little bit of a lottery. So a lot of the time, in terms of understanding the lie, experience is a big one. Playing enough around the greens, trying from different lies, different situations, different scenarios, that is your best way of learning how the ball is going to come out from different situations, different lies. But as a starting point, if we understand that first and foremost, I'm going to have a situation where I've got to go through some grass to get to this golf ball. That's going to have an effect. The grass is going to get between the club face and the ball. That's going to have an effect. Understanding what those are going to do is going to help us make better decisions in terms of what sort of shots we can play. Now, the classic scenario for a shot from out of the rough, even when it's around the edge of the green, would be ball back, handle forward, and chop down on it. Now, yes, option if it's sitting right down, but that sort of shot is just going to produce this really low, hot, running shot, which if I've got to stop the ball in any way, shape, or form, if I haven't got enough room to let it roll out, I'm pretty much screwed. So we want to look at it in a slightly different way. So whenever I'm playing from a different lie, I like to use a system that I learned, which is to ask 3 questions. From this lie, if I were to play my standard chip shot action right now, how would that ball come out? So first part is it going to come out higher or lower? Well, when we get grass between the club face and the golf ball, that typically wants to make the ball slide up the club face a little bit. So the ball will typically want to launch a little bit higher. Kind of get those scenarios where you might slip under it sometimes when playing from out of the rough, okay? Second one, is it going to come out faster or slower? So once again, playing it with my normal chip shot action, going through this rough, I'm going to have to go through some sort of grass to get to the back of the golf ball. Quite likely that it's going to come out slower because the club is going to be slowing down into the golf ball, or rather it's going to be getting slowed down by the grass. And then finally, is the ball going to be coming out with more or less spin? Or if you like, is it going to roll more or less? It's going to be coming out with less spin, so we're predicting that it would roll more. So I now know that this thing is going to come out a little bit higher, a little bit softer, and with more roll. So if I understand that, I could very simply just take my normal chip shot action, but just be a bit quicker with it. So in other words, just accept that essentially I'm going to have the ball, I'm going to have the club slow down into the golf ball a little bit, but if I just speed it up a bit, I can pretty much play my normal chip shot action and be okay. And this is the thing with the different rough lengths and types and situations you're going to have around the greens. It's not always a case of you need to get right down on the back of the golf ball. So first and foremost, think about using your normal chip shot action, but just speeding it up a little bit more speed, a little bit more power, allowing for it to come out a bit softer and roll out a bit more than you would typically expect compared to a stock shot from off a fairway lie. Now the second option we have with this is kind of going along the lines of putting the ball back, handle forward, being able to basically get down onto the back of the golf ball easier, but we're not going to do it with leaning forward and chopping down. We're going to be doing it by using the club in a different way. Now typically, if you've got the club set up normally, you'll see that it has a profile towards the camera in this scenario. So in other words, it's got that much of the face pointing towards the camera. If I were to open it, you'll see how the profile starts to lessen quite considerably. So now there's only that much going towards the camera. Now, if you imagine that going through the ground, face on, that's going to get caught up by the grass quite a bit. But if I were to open it up, I can then get the club to slip a little bit quicker. In other words, the open face cuts through the grass a little bit better. What we can do is we can just get into a setup position where we open the face a little bit. say about 1 o'clock-ish, and we place the toe down on the ground more. So in other words, when you're laying it down, it's going to look a little bit more like that. Now what that does is that gives us this really nice, almost like scything action through the golf ball, so that the club can travel through the ball a lot easier, travel through the grass a lot easier to get to the golf ball. When you do this, because we've got the handle a little bit raised up now, you are going to have to aim a little bit left for this, because that ball is going to want to take off more to the right because of the open club face. So we put the toe down, handle's a bit higher, so it's just the toe and the face is open. I'm just going to play it as it were like normal. Expect the ball to pop out a little bit higher, of course, with the open face, but club should get through the grass quite easily. And so I can start to put a little bit more height on those shots around the green from out of the rough.